Hello everyone, Ogre27Kane here today, and I want to do a review of Astral Chain for the Nintendo Switch. Let's do an overview, find out what this game is all about. Well, this game came out all the way back at the beginning of the Nintendo Switch's life, and it's a one-of-a-kind game. This was given to us by Platinum Games, the same guys that did Bayonetta and a few other greats. This game was highly recommended by another YouTuber named OJ from Player Essence. I seriously doubt he watches my channel, but he's definitely the guy that showed me how great this game was, and I'm grateful because I love his videos. So this game is a very fast-paced, action, detective-oriented adventure. It uses both sticks for combat, and it's pretty crazy. It's like nothing else I've ever played. So if you want to see something different, sit back and enjoy this review. First up, let's start out with the gameplay. Well, the general gameplay loop in this is pretty interesting. It sees you as a police officer, and of course you have the general office where you start out and do all of your paperwork and training and maintenance and everything else you need to do. But then it basically has you walking the beat out in the street trying to pick up clues to figure out what's going on in the world around you. As you pick up said clues, it allows you to do side quests or main quests or find secrets or do other things, and then it draws you into combat at certain times. Sometimes this combat is held in the physical world as you're seeing here on screen, and then sometimes the combat is held in the astral plane, hence the name. The astral plane itself is a little different, but it has generally the same physics. It's a lot more of a puzzle mechanic and designed around you exploring the world and using all of your units here to help you figure everything out. The units themselves are called Chimera, and you develop and learn certain ones and capture certain ones as you play through the game. There is a pretty good upgrade system, and the game does reward you for a lot of exploration and a lot of experimentation. I personally have not figured out half of what this game has to offer, so I generally recommend exploring everything there is to it. But the last element of the gameplay, of course, is going to be the story, and I think that's the element we should hit next. So, up next, let's do the story. So the story takes place where you start out as one of two twins, either male or female. After the first couple missions, your counterpart gets injured and you basically take over the dominance of the story. This changes depending on which one you chose, but the story is generally the exact same. This allows you to have an organic reason why you're the only one saving the world at the moment. Now, on top of that, your job is to find these chimeras and enlist them to help you defeat other chimeras and figure out why the world is being covered in this red shift. The red shift is at first seen as a form of corruption, and then it's seen as something else. But the story elements are very crazy and vague, and they're very loose, so it doesn't explain a lot to you for a very long time. You play the first half of the game pretty much in the dark on what you're up to. None of this really bothered me at all, simply because of the fact that combat in this game is absolutely insanely great. But on top of that, the story does keep you with enough elements to keep you intrigued and involved. The other story element I should mention is that you're given sort of a father figure, and there's a story thing that happens where you're expected to get emotional about it, and frankly the game is so crazily written that it's hard to get emotional at all. And so the attachment for the characters is not quite there, even if the story loop does its job. So let's hit the next category, the combat. Alright, frankly this is quite possibly the best category in this game by a mile. The combat is absolutely insane. Picture Bayonetta with two characters on two different sticks with a tandem junction sort of effect to everything they're doing. The combat is so fast-paced and so simple, but at the same time so rewarding that you can't help but want to invest yourself in it. Even if you're not terribly good at the game still rewards you enough to make all the moves flashy to where you feel like you're doing something really energetic and fun. I love this element, and it rewards people for simply just playing the game. The other thing is that the combat progressively gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Each one of these chimeras that you have their own skill tree, and even though you have a simple attack button, all of your tandem moves begin to work and escalate. You can equip different abilities and grow those abilities on the chimeras, so it's not as limited as you think. The combat in this game can go really deep, and as you learn to switch between the chimeras and use their attacks in tandem, the cooldown effects don't hit you as hard as you think they would. So I highly recommend this game just for the combat alone. It's quite possibly the best part, and not only the best part, but my favorite part to this entire game. So next up, let's do graphics and animations. Well, the graphics and animations are surprisingly extremely good. This game is only on the Nintendo Switch and it was developed for that hardware. I have Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 and they're all fantastic looking games and they all function very well. The frame rates are steady and they do their job. But this game feels like it was made for the Nintendo Switch. As you can see here, everything runs as well as you're seeing or better. My video does not do this game justice. On top of that, the animation quality is top-notch. All the characters have a movement to them and they all have certain aesthetics that they go with and go through as you're going through cutscenes and different things, so they're not as one-dimensional as you think they would be. What I really like about the game is how high quality the character models themselves are. Even when you're wearing different outfits, it still looks like they took their time and invested a lot into each character. I'm wearing a different outfit right here in this scene, and the outfit was not something I wore for a long time, but it still looked really good. It looked sharp. The game sorta has a cel-shaded nature to it, but it's fully three-dimensional, so don't let that fool you by any way, shape, or form. On top of that, the field of view and depth on this game is really good too. The pop-in is a little weird in some cities and some towns, but it was never something that bothered me. So let's do the controls and audio now. Well, let's start out with the audio, because the audio in this game is really good, and it has some fantastic voiceovers and some really excellent music for the combat. I'll surprise you at the end with a little bit of combat music if you stay with me to the very end, but up until then, let's just give you some of the voiceover itself.
Here comes someone!
Well, how's the latest sample looking?
It changes a little person to person, but generally, one dose is enough to get them fighting fit.
Great. Now our missing associate's our only problem. We knew info on that.
I'm sorry, sir. I've got everyone on the lookout for intel, but we've come up with nothing.
Think credit says he went through a gate.
Well, as you can tell, it's pretty top-notch. It's not the best in the world, but considering this game was a low-budget, small project, I think it did really well. I enjoy all the music and voice work and everything else they did, and it's pretty cool to not have to read every single text box, to be honest with you. So let's touch on the controls now. So the controls in this game are pretty fantastic in my opinion. They start out really easy, but they progressively get more and more difficult. And as the difficulty sets in, you want to upgrade your skill trees and understand more about your chimeras and learn everything else. On top of that, the enemies get more complex and they require certain maneuvers and certain things that you need to learn in order to take them down. There's a lot of different enemies and sometimes you get overwhelmed, so remembering each different combination of things to do can take a toll on you. I do recommend experimenting and practicing a lot with the controls in this game because if not, the game will punish you. And the game will not remind you when you're halfway through and you just pick it up again that you're halfway through. It will just destroy you over and over and over. Thankfully, there's a lot of good tutorials and hint menus and a lot of different things that you can go through, so the game does give you means to go back and try everything over. Well, last up, I think we should do the conclusion. Well, in conclusion, I think this game is absolutely fantastic. This has turned into one of my favorite games on the Nintendo Switch, and there are some topics in this game that make this game not really possible to be made today. When you play the game, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. The last thing I should mention is that although this game is really good, absolutely one I would recommend, it might be a little pricey now. The game itself has been out for a while, and it's in short stock in a lot of places. If you find it online, it's probably going to run you $50 or $60, but it is absolutely worth that price. I highly recommend you check this game out, and this game was worth every penny for me. The combat in this game is absolutely insane, and I love all of Platinum Games' work, and I think this game is definitely worthy of your time and your money. Thank you for watching today's video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre27 Kane signing out.